Today we're diving deep into a story that's sending shockwaves from Beijing right to the heart of India's electric dream. Imagine this. You're finally ready to buy that shiny new electric car or scooter, joining India's green revolution. But bam, a massive jolt from China threatens to slam the brakes. What's happening? And more importantly, what does it mean for you? Whether you're looking to buy an EV or invest your hard-earned money, stick around because we're decoding it all. Picture this, the Sharma family from Pune, they've saved up, done their research and are days away from booking their first electric car. They're excited about saving on fuel, contributing to cleaner air and being part of modern India's big EV push. It's a story echoing across millions of Indian households, right? But suddenly, China, the world's factory for a tiny but supercritical component, has decided to turn off the tap. This isn't just any component, it's the heart of an EV's power. We're talking about rare earth magnets.
China's retaliation now includes suspending exports of rare earth minerals and magnets.
Supplies of rare earths suspended. There's a whole list of metals which have been banned, at least 6 of them. At least 6 of them, in fact, are rare earth metals.
We're talking about rare earth magnets and China's decision to curb their exports, citing national security. This move has sent global automakers and governments, including India, scrambling, making this disruption feel particularly sharp. So, is India's ambitious EV dream about to hit a wall? Will your next EV cost more? Which companies are in the firing line? And what is the Indian government doing about it? We'll break down how this affects your wallet, your investments, and India's race to go electric. First, what are these rare earth magnets? Think of them as the unsung superheroes in an EV. Specifically, we're often talking about neodymium iron boron magnets or N-Phoebe magnets. These aren't your fridge magnets. They are incredibly powerful and essential for making EV motors compact, efficient, and giving you that instant torque and longer range. They use rare earth elements like neodymium and praseodymium, but here's the kicker. For high performance, especially to handle the heat in powerful EV motors, they need elements like dysprosium and terbium. These heavy rare earths are crucial for thermal stability, ensuring the magnets maintain their strength even at high operating temperatures. Without them, magnet performance degrades, compromising efficiency and durability. Imagine this. Recently in India, we got sleek, silent scooters promised a green revolution on city streets. But that revolutionary promise was soon engulfed in a series of fiery incidents as multiple scooters mysteriously burst into flames across the country. And guess what? Dysprosium and terbium are among the 7 specific rare earths China has put under export restrictions. This isn't just about the quantity of supply, it's about the quality and efficiency of the motors.
In the world is now pitching themselves as a source of rare earth minerals. Every country in the world, by the way, they're not that rare, so every country has access to it, but it's become a big, that alone is not enough, because you have to have access to rare earth minerals, but then you have to have the ability to process them, and you have to make them into usable material. And frankly, what the Chinese have done over the last 25 or 30 years is they've cornered the market.
China produces 90% of the world's rare earth minerals.
Now, why is China's move such a big deal? Simple. Dominance. China isn't just a player, it's the player. As you can see, they mine about 60 to 70% of the world's rare earths. But crucially, they control nearly 90% of the processing and refining, turning the raw stuff into usable material. And they manufacture over 90% of these critical rare earth magnets. That's a stranglehold. This dominance in the technologically complex midstream, processing and downstream magnet manufacturing stages is the real challenge. Even if India has its own reserves, without scaled refining capacity, the dependency remains. So what China did on April 4th was to stop short of an outright ban. Instead, they've mandated special export licenses for these 7 rare earth elements and related magnets, citing national security and non-proliferation concerns. This means more paperwork, more scrutiny, and potentially more no's from Beijing. Many see this national security justification, especially in the context of ongoing global tech and trade disputes, as a geopolitical tactic, using this critical resource dependency as leverage. And here's a slight detail. Beijing now requires end-user disclosures for these licenses. This gives them a deep look into who is using what, where, and how much. Valuable intel on global industrial ecosystems, including ours. It's a way for China to map out global dependencies. India, as you know, is all in on EVs. We're talking a target of 30% of all vehicle sales to be electric by 2030. That means potentially 80 million EVs on our roads. Now, this isn't just an EV story. These rare earth magnets are used in many other places too. Think about conventional petrol and diesel cars. They use these magnets in components like power steering systems, anti-lock braking, ABS, sensors, and even audio speakers. So the disruption could affect the broader auto industry, not just the EV segment. And it doesn't stop there. Sectors like consumer electronics, industrial motors, aerospace, and even clean energy systems like wind turbines also rely on these magnets. The big immediate fear? Production lines grinding to a halt. Auto industry body SIAM, Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, and component makers, AUTSIAMA, have warned the government that inventories of these magnets are depleting fast. In fact, a senior executive at Bajaj Auto, Rakesh Sharma, stated that if supplies aren't restored, production could be seriously impaired as early as July. That's just around the corner. This is because even if one tiny component using such a magnet is missing, you can't roll a vehicle off the assembly line. This very short inventory runway reveals a concerning lack of strategic stockpiling for these critical single-source components, exposing a major vulnerability in how the Indian auto industry has managed its supply chains. Alright, the question on every potential EV buyer's mind: if these magnets become scarce or more expensive, will my dream EV cost a bomb? Well, the short answer is quite possibly yes. Automakers might have no choice but to pass on these increased costs. Industry insiders and reports suggest that EV prices in India could potentially increase by as much as 8% if this magnet crisis persists. On a car costing say 10 lakh rupees, that's an extra 80,000 rupees out of your pocket. In a price-sensitive market like India, such a hike could significantly dampen EV demand, potentially derailing adoption targets and even offsetting the benefits of government subsidies. So, which Indian companies are likely feeling the heat the most? On the EV manufacturing front, we're looking at major players like Tata Motors, which currently leads the passenger EV market, Mahindra & Mahindra with its growing EV portfolio in passenger and commercial segments, and the two-wheeler giants Ola Electric, TVS Motor, Bajaj Auto, and Ather Energy, who are driving the electric scooter and motorcycle wave. And it's not just the vehicle makers. Key auto ancillary companies that supply crucial EV components like motors and power systems are also exposed. With such a critical situation, what is the Indian government doing? It's a two-pronged approach: immediate firefighting and long-term future-proofing. In the short term, the government, along with industry bodies like SIAM and AUTSIAMA, is engaging with Chinese officials to expedite those stuck export licenses. A delegation of auto industry leaders was even planned to visit Beijing to press for a resolution. But the long-term future-proofing is where it gets really interesting for India's Atmanirbhar vision. The Ministry of Heavy Industries is taking this very seriously. They held a crucial meeting on June 3rd to finalize a plan to promote domestic manufacturing of rare earth magnets. So how can India truly become Atmanirbhar, or self-reliant in these critical rare earths? First, tapping domestic reserves and building processing muscle. India has the world's 5th largest rare earth reserves, around 6.9 million tons. But we mine less than 1% of global production. The key issue isn't just mining, it's the critical lack of advanced processing and refining capacity. This missing middle is India's biggest hurdle. Government-owned IRIL India Limited has a small samarium cobalt magnet plant, but its scale is tiny. Second, the power of recycling. Think about all the old electronics and EV batteries. Recycling rare earths from e-waste, often called urban mining, is a huge opportunity. India currently recycles only about 22% of its e-waste. Third, innovating away from rare earths. What if we didn't need these specific rare earths as much? R&D into rare earth-free electric motors is gaining traction. For example, Bangalore-based Numerous Motors is collaborating with IIT Bhubaneswar on this very technology. The Maharashtra EV policy even includes R&D grants for such initiatives. These are not just supplementary solutions, but potentially transformative long-term strategies. Fourth, diversifying imports and global partnerships. India is also strengthening ties with other resource-rich nations like Australia and engaging with the US-led Mineral Security Partnership and the Quad to build alternative resilient supply chains. So, if you're that common person, what does this mean for your EV dream? In the short term, yes, your EV could be more expensive, that potential 8% hike we talked about, and there might be longer waiting periods if production slows down. You might be tempted to wait and see. If EV adoption slows significantly, it could also mean a slight setback for India's larger goals of reducing air pollution and cutting fossil fuel use. The road ahead is bumpy, no doubt, but India has faced challenges before and emerged stronger. The focus on domestic manufacturing, recycling, R&D, and global partnerships shows a multi-pronged strategy is taking shape. This is a fast-evolving story, and we'll be tracking every development right here on FinMe. What are your thoughts on this crisis? Will India turn this challenge into an opportunity? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this update helpful and want to stay ahead of the curve on market-moving news, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends and colleagues, and most importantly, subscribe to FinMe and ring that notification bell. Thanks for watching.